Hey listeners, Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network. I get the privilege of working alongside all of our creators at Enrollify, but I wanted to take just a quick moment to tell you about why I love the Talking Tactics podcast hosted by Diana Kibbolds. Every other Tuesday, Day drops a new episode where she focuses on a single tactic that moved the needle on any enrollment metric, from inquiries and booth visitors to apps completed and deposits, even registrations, you name it. The catch? The tactic had to be done with limited resources, either by a single person or a small but mighty team, or limited time, or maybe without a lot of money. The podcast format is fun and engaging, and it's just different from the more traditional 60-minute interview style shows. If you work in enrollment management or marketing, be sure to give Day's show a listen. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search Talking Tactics wherever you get your podcasts.
I think most people think of liberal arts as detached, disconnected, maybe not tied into work and not as relevant. And I don't actually think that's true. But I do think that the market perception is a lack of relevancy. And so that to me says, maybe liberal arts has a marketing problem. And maybe marketers need to be the ones to step in to try to help here.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your Monday morning energizer covering insights and trends in higher ed marketing and enrollment. I'm Mallory Wilsey, bringing over 15 years of ed tech and marketing expertise to your earbuds.
And I'm Seth Odell, joining the Pulse with my own adventures from leading marketing at top universities to founding Kanahoma, one of the industry's fastest growing digital marketing agencies.
Each week, we bring you the kind of insider insights you typically only find over cocktails with your pals at a conference.
It's fast, it's fun, and it's designed for you, the busy higher ed professional.
You're not just listening to another podcast.
You're checking the pulse of higher education.
Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher ed professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Welcome back to the Higher Ed Pulse. This is Mallory, and I am here with Seth, as always. Hey, Seth, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Mallory. It's wonderful to see you and good to be here. I got to ask, I saw the other day that you are hiring for Enrollify. So tell me about the job.
Yes, all the good deets. So the position's a marketing manager role, and this is going to be a really critical position for the network. We are coming off of our most successful quarter ever with nearly a 50% increase in audience listenership.
Dang.
Yeah, right? Seth, it's all you. It's all you, Seth.
I'd like to think it's the halo effect. I'm sure it's nothing to do with me, but I'm glad to be a part of it. I'd like to be on a winning team, whether I contribute or not. It's still fun to win.
Well, we want to keep riding this rocket ship, and this marketing manager is going to be just critical to brand management and boosting our strategies in different digital channels. I'm really excited. I'll be honest. We posted on LinkedIn and our website, and we have so many applications, and they are so good. This is going to be a really competitive process.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I'm super excited to see who you hire. And I got to ask you more about posting LinkedIn. I was speaking to a college class the other day, and students were asking me where to look for marketing jobs. And I told them, I only post to LinkedIn for Kanahoma jobs. I'll post to my own personal social, sure, but for formal use, I only post to LinkedIn. I don't do Indeed or anything else anymore. Are you just posting on LinkedIn? I'm curious if this is a trend or not, that LinkedIn is becoming the de facto solo job board for a lot of companies.
Sample size of 2, I can confirm that besides our website, LinkedIn is really the only place we're posting as well. It's also the only place that I really go to do research as I'm creating job descriptions. Well, ChatGPT as well, let's be real. But yeah, I think that LinkedIn just has a corner on, business positions these days.
Yeah, I think maybe monster.com might have some monster problems, I guess. So a sample size of 2, but it's super interesting to hear, for sure.
My little tip to folks is, because sometimes depending on how you post on LinkedIn, you can really open the floodgates and receive a lot of unqualified applications. Folks who maybe didn't even read the job description, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
We didn't do it for this role, but in the past, I have included things kind of buried in the job description, like in your cover letter, you need to include this word. And whatever that word is, it's like watermelon or something totally like out of left field. Sometimes I love the responses though, because for the people who catch it, they've actually read that job description. They're usually the best qualified. Some will just pop it in as like a PS watermelon, but others will actually find very creative ways to weave that keyword into the cover letter. And I have primarily hired marketing roles where writing is critical, maybe the skill set I'm looking for most. And when somebody can take a random word like watermelon and make it contextually relevant within a cover letter, I'm like, just give them the job. They win. They win.
That's awesome. Wow. I want to be on the lookout.
Seth, this is the perfect transition into today's topic because guess who can take a word like watermelon and weave it into a cover letter? A liberal arts major. That's who. So I can see it too, says a religious studies major in her undergrad world. So today we are going to talk about the liberal arts. Liberal arts have just long been a cornerstone of American higher education, celebrated for things like nurturing critical thinking, creativity, and a more comprehensive understanding of the world that we live in. Yet the institutions in the U.S. are just facing all sorts of pressures like dwindling enrollments, financial constraints, to job markets that really demand more specialized skills. And as a result, liberal arts programs are sadly coming under fire. Campus leadership is reevaluating their role and relevance in the educational ecosystem. And already schools like LaSalle University, Hiram College, and SUNY Potsdam have taken measures to scale back these programs with a lot of cuts to majors. And as a result, faculty are laid off. Last week, I was on the Chronicles website and there were 3 articles just splashed right on the homepage. I've included those links in the show notes for you. But those articles all examined the crisis and kind of what is happening in the wake of these decisions. One article noted that the number of faculty positions in the humanities has decreased by 12% nationwide since 2015. And another article shared that the number of humanities majors had declined by 17% since the pandemic. And again, religious studies major here. I was 2 Latin classes shy of a double with classics. This just hurts my soul, Seth. I am just so sad to hear about all of these cuts and kind of this devalue of liberal arts in general. And I know you've got a lot to say on this topic.
Yeah, totally. So, I'm a liberal arts major as well. I got a communications degree and came up through the arts myself through a school that's now closed or closing. I will say, my grandfather, Robert Cadera, was the president of Nazareth College at Rochester, New York. And he used to always talk about the transformative power of a liberal arts education and how critical and important it was. And when we think about the traditional undergraduate student population, I think it's super important that we help teach people to, consider how they consume information, how they learn, how they question things. I'm super concerned about it as well. I do think it's important to acknowledge the business reality that demand for liberal arts is down, both across employers and also across prospective students, as prospective students and their parents become more and more focused on what is the fastest track to a job. But I do worry that we're losing something pretty substantial here. And I worry sometimes, that the hard skills we're learning may not hold up in a world that's changing really quickly. And so I think, we're probably moving too fast to put liberal arts by the wayside. I think it needs a rebrand, which we can talk about in a minute. But just in general, I'm concerned all the way around. It's definitely just a concerning place to be as far as the future of liberal arts education.
Hey, it's Mallory. Exciting news! I'm hosting the Engage Summit in Raleigh on June 25th and 26th, and I'd love to meet you there. Together, we'll dive into the mind of the modern student, what fires them up, how they interact, and what they expect in today's digital age, and how tools like AI help put them in the driver's seat of their education. We have some terrific speakers, including our closing keynote, New York Times best-selling author Jeff Selingo. Sessions will dig into practical ideas and innovative strategies to get your team more student-centered and ready to adopt AI. And many of your favorite Enrollify hosts are presenting too, like Jamie Hunt, Jenny Lee Fowler, and Brian Gross. Use the discount code Enrollify50 for an extra $50 off your registration. Learn more and register at engage.element451.com. We can't wait to see you there. You know, STEM fields are undeniably important, but I think this rush to prioritize them at the expense of the humanities, well, certainly isn't underscoring the importance of a more holistic educational experience. But I just think about all the very real and versatile skill sets that the liberal arts provided me, at the very least. I mean, like I said, a religious studies major. Now I'm running a media network, right? Like, how do you make that leap? Like my theology classes when I was studying abroad at Oxford didn't exactly teach me the ins and outs of how to podcast, right? But it taught me how to learn, taught me how to think critically. And as someone who's kind of self-taught in roles that never existed before I stepped into them, like, I just can't imagine that an education system that is so heavily focused on very, very specific skill sets is going to set up our current students for a future world where, let's just talk about how quickly things in artificial intelligence have changed over the last year. I mean, there is just so much rapidly evolving innovation that if we are not serving our students with an education that helps them think critically, what will that future workforce look like? That really makes me concerned.
Yeah, me too. I was having a conversation with a president last year who said it far more eloquently than I could. And he talked about, how do you future-proof your education for the future of work? So many parents in particular, he was sharing, when they come and do campus tours or they come to an open house, are focused on the future of work. How are we going to ensure that my child is ready for jobs and employment? And one of the things he talked about was I'm really focused on ensuring not only that your child gets their first job, but that they're getting jobs 15 to 20 years from now. And I do totally agree. I think the focus on hard skills in the short term is a little bit of a mistake in some ways, because what it means is that those hard skills are going to be disrupted quite quickly with the evolution of technology. And so there's really this question of I go to school and I get all these degrees, or get a degree in a certain hard skill, but that hard skill may not even exist. I mean, there's scenarios where programming as a whole may not fundamentally exist in 10 years. It'll be prompt-based programming instead. And it's well, hold on, I'm getting a degree in something that may not exist. To liberal arts credit, the components of a liberal arts education will exist for all of time. And so, but I think that goes back to the need to rebrand liberal arts. I think most people think of liberal arts as detached, disconnected, maybe not tied into work and not as relevant. And I don't actually think that's true, but I do think that the market perception is a lack of relevancy. And so that to me says, maybe liberal arts has a marketing problem, and maybe marketers need to be the ones to step in to try to help here.
Yeah. I think there's absolutely a role for marketing communication professionals in battling this perception challenge and, kind of revamping, I think, maybe liberal arts curriculum too, to reflect things that are a bit more contemporary, right? I think the average person who's not entrenched in this industry like you and I are, thinks about liberal arts and is like, oh, I'm reading some philosophy books that were written hundreds of thousands of years ago. Or what does the Gospel of Matthew have to do with, me showing up at my job and doing my 9 to 5 every day? Okay, so I get it, but maybe there's not just a rebrand here, but a role for marketing to play in revamping the product itself and including courses on things like maybe ethics in technology, environmental sustainability, etc.
I totally agree. We have one client of ours at Kanahoma, Concordia University, Irvine, and they have an undergraduate curriculum that's part of their core for undergrad that is called Enduring Questions and Ideas curriculum. They call it Q&I, and they literally have classes called like what is truth, what is beauty, what is freedom, and it was so amazing. And so when we did a brand campaign with them, we stumbled into it. I don't want to give any credit that we were smart enough to know this out of the bat. We stumbled into repositioning how we talked about it, and the way we talk about it to students is we say take classes about life's toughest questions. And it's like, don't you want to take classes called What is Truth and What is Beauty? And then for parents, we focused on, your child will be prepared professionally and personally. And it was about like that cross preparation. And so I do think and it's working for them. It's a one example of, but I just loved their curriculum was already great. We just had to repackage it and help people understand, like, don't you want to sit in a classroom about what is truth? Like, I would take that class. That sounds so interesting to me. And that is philosophy, right? And but it's just repackaged in a way that it is consumable and it focuses on the student and what they're going to get out of it. And I just think that's just a key opportunity. So that was only example. And unfortunately, across all our partners, it's the only one I think where we've stumbled into a way to twist this. And I'd love to see that happen more because I just think there's so much value in that education. It just needs to be properly communicated.
I mean, you've sold me. I want to go sign up for these classes too.
Me too. Let's do it.
Let's take a class together, Seth.
Okay, but Mallory, if we're taking this class, I want to assign some homework to listeners too.
Oh, snap.
Exactly. My homework to listeners is if you work at a college or university, I want to challenge yourself to look at how you are positioning and marketing liberal arts education. What I don't want to see is marketers, myself included, roll over and give up on liberal arts as a segment and say, you know what, the market doesn't want it, and we're just going to push it in a corner and never talk about it again. Like, you don't have to use the phrase liberal arts. You can talk about your education and your product any way you want. But I would encourage everybody listening to reflect on how you are positioning and promoting liberal arts and maybe reconsider that there may be more that you can do there. Like, let's not give up on this yet. That's my challenge.
That's a terrific challenge. And I would love to hear from listeners if you're doing anything already to start down this repackaging, rebranding process. Let Seth and me know. Drop us a note on LinkedIn. We've already established that's where all the great stuff is happening.
And so it's all going down anyway. Exactly.
I've seen, Seth, recently some calls to action from folks in our community who are like, we need to make LinkedIn more conversational.
Yes,
we may have even talked about this on a previous Pulse episode, but let's just make LinkedIn more conversational, more shit posts on LinkedIn, people. Come on.
Let's make it a meme land. I'm ready for it.
Oh, no. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But no, and not saying that this would be a shit post for the record, but I'm just saying.
No, definitely not. This would be the good stuff.
This is the good stuff that allows for all the other stuff around it. No, but really, being serious again for a moment, I really would love to learn how folks are starting to think about this, especially marketing communication professionals. I look at schools like my undergraduate alma mater and just continue to see enrollment declines year over year. And these are liberal arts schools. And Vermont is near and dear to my heart that just so many schools have been closing, it feels like, within the state, left and right. And so, we talk about these really big issues on this podcast. And if we're not talking about solutions and we're not taking these solutions to public places where we can learn from each other, I just think our industry as a whole is, especially on things like liberal arts, we're just going to keep going in the wrong direction. So
totally. I totally agree. I love the challenge. I'd love and welcome the conversation from folks.
Absolutely. All right. Well, just like that, we are wrapping up another episode of The Pulse. You know that on Thursdays, you can look forward to hearing our Pulse Check series. And this Thursday, we are wrapping up our Mergers and Acquisitions series. This week, we have R. Ethan Braden and Katie Pratt joining us. They are the brilliant minds behind the Comeback campaign as they dive into the captivating brand development journey of Purdue Global following its acquisition by Purdue University in 2017. They take the brand view, and listeners will gain insights into navigating the integration of two distinct brands to achieve clear alignment and trust within both organizations. It's the perfect way to wrap up this series with host Kin Sejpal. You won't want to miss it. Seth, any closing words before we shut this one down?
No, just want to thank people for listening. Always appreciate the conversation. I guess if you can, we'd always welcome reviews. We always welcome ratings. Please, think about us, plug us, and share the podcast as best you can. We really do love connecting each and every week. I love connecting with you, Mallory, but also with all you listeners. It's really fun. I've been loving doing this. So thank you for listening.
Alrighty. And with that, folks, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.